Japan's national team, known as the Samurai Blue, what a sick name by the way, is heading into the 2026 World Cup as one of the most exciting teams.
Are Japan going to win the World Cup?
I'm much more a believer in Japan than I am South Korea, given what I've seen this window.
Japan are on a roll. Could potentially be the best performing Asian country at this summer's World Cup.
Forget about being the best in Asia. These guys can compete with the best teams in the world. A big part of that comes from how many of their players are now playing in Europe, gaining experience at the highest level. Look at the likes of Mitoma at Brighton, Endo at Liverpool, Kubo at Real Sociedad, and Kamada at Crystal Palace.
I think they're the most convincing Asian side at the World Cup. There's so many good young players, and the development of the country is really on display. So I really loved what I saw from them.
There are so many other players that I will discuss in depth later in the video. The team has grown a lot tactically under their manager Moriyasu, becoming more organized, flexible, and confident even against elite opposition.
There's this fearlessness about this Japanese side, and it comes when you have players who have gone from strength to strength. And
I mean, we literally saw it in action in the previous World Cup. Japan was put in Group E, which was easily one of the toughest groups. They had to face Spain, Germany, and Costa Rica. Most people didn't expect them to get out. Then, the Germany game happened. Japan went down 1-0 early after a penalty from Ilkay Gundogan, and it looked like the game was going to go exactly how people expected. But in the second half, Moriyasu made some great subs that completely changed the trajectory of the match. Ritsu Doan came on and equalized in the 75th minute.
This time it's finished, and it's finished by Doan.
Then Takuma Asano scored an incredible winner just minutes later.
And Asano has managed to sneak in. What a wonderfully well-taken goal!
Japan won 2-1, and suddenly, people started paying attention.
Everybody knows Japan. It's tough team to play.
I think they are a tough side. I think at times Germany were very much on the front foot. But they don't give up. Yeah. They stay committed, and to give the manager credit.
The next match, unfortunately, was a setback, losing 1-0 to Costa Rica. It felt like all the momentum had gone to waste.
Was the first result against Germany then kind of a fluke, or does this Japan team still have enough to go?
But then came Spain. Spain scored first through Alvaro Morata, and again Japan had to respond. Ritsu Doan stepped up again with another goal early in the second half.
Oh yes! What an impact off the substitutes bench for Ritsu Doan!
Then came one of the most talked about moments of the 2022 World Cup.
Let's talk about the controversy in this game now. There's been a lot of talk about that second goal from Japan.
Mitoma chased a ball that looked like it had gone out of play, kept it in by the smallest margin, and crossed it for Tanaka to score.
Oh, it's in! Remarkable!
Importantly, this isn't just about the ball touching the ground. The curvature overhanging the line also counts. So basically, it's the whole spherical part of the ball, and if part of that's over it.
After a long VAR check, the goal stood. Japan won 2-1. They finished at the top of the group, knocking Germany out in the process. That's when people started to view them differently.
Well done to Japan for an incredible comeback.
Is Moriyasu a genius or is he a fool?
In second halves in his career, he's a genius.
In the round of 16, they faced Croatia. The game ended 1-1 after extra time, but Japan unfortunately lost on penalty.
Saved again by Livakovic! It's the usual story for Japan.
It was a tough way to go out, especially given how well Japan had played. Imagine the complete opposite of Arsenal. Japan played fearless football. They tried to attack. They were fluid in their movement. They were fearless. Still, that tournament proved something very important. Japan could compete with the best teams in the world. They were organized, they had a super strong mentality, and were lethal on the counter. And that's what set the foundation for what we are seeing now. Japan's path to the 2026 World Cup was honestly pretty comfortable. They went through 2 rounds of Asian qualifying and barely put a foot wrong. Japan started in the second round and were placed in a group with North Korea, Syria, and Myanmar. On paper, they were the strongest team. They won all 6 games, and more importantly, they didn't concede a single goal. So they weren't just attacking well, they were very solid at the back too. Even with rotations in the back line and different goalkeepers, the level didn't drop. Here's how their results look. 5-0 win versus Myanmar, then a 5-0 win versus Syria. Then they beat North Korea 1-0. Then in the second round of fixtures, they beat North Korea, which according to my research, it was a forfeit win. Then they put 5 past Myanmar again, and then they put 5 past Syria again. It was dominance from start to finish. I mean, you look at these results, it looks like me playing career mode on amateur. This round also gave Moriyasu the chance to bring in some younger players, especially those playing in Europe, and slowly integrate them into the team without any real pressure. The third round was supposed to be much harder. Japan were placed in a group with Australia, Saudi Arabia, China, Bahrain, and Indonesia. But again, Japan handled it really well. They started with a statement win. They beat China 7-0. I mean, that's a spanking. Then they followed it up with a 5-0 away win in Bahrain. They also ended up beating Saudi Arabia 2-0 away from home. That's a place where Japan had really struggled before, so it showed just how much they had grown. Throughout the group, they just kept winning comfortably. Their only loss came late in the campaign against Australia, where they lost 1-0 to a last-minute goal. But at that point, they had already qualified and the team was completely rotated. They finished things off with another spanking of Indonesia this time with a 6-0 win. Japan's squad looks very different when you compare it to the previous Japan squads from years ago. Before, a lot of their players were based in Japan playing in the J League. Now many of them are playing in Europe, and you can see the difference in their level of play. Let's start with Endo. Endo is the leader of this team. No question about it. He plays as a defensive midfielder and does all the dirty work. If you guys have ever watched him play at Liverpool, you would see that he's one of those players who just bleeds for the badge.
I know what kind of person Wata is. He's just, wherever you play me, I will do my best whenever you play me. So if it's 5 minutes before the end, he comes in and gives everything he has, and that might be normal for a lot of fans to hear. But for as long as I'm into football, I've seen players that had to come in 5 minutes before the end, also doing different things and showing different attitude than Wata shows. So he's an important part of our team.
He's the one winning the ball back, breaking up attacks, and keeping everything organized in the middle of the park. On top of that, he also controls the tempo and makes sure that the team stays balanced. Basically, he gives the attacking players freedom to take risks because he covers all the space behind them. Essentially, he's the Japanese N'Golo Kante.
Thank you.
Tomiyasu is probably Japan's best defender when the poor guy is fit. He can play anywhere across the back line. In fact, we saw that at Arsenal, where he would play at center back and then at right back. Now he plays at Ajax. He's the most comfortable as a center back though. He's very calm on the ball, reads the game well, and just doesn't panic under pressure. The only issues with him have been injuries. He's had a tough time staying fit, and that's been the biggest concern going into the World Cup. If he's healthy, Japan are going to look so much more solid at the back. Kamada is the player who connects everything together. He plays in that advanced midfield role and is key when Japan need to create chances. He's really good at finding space, especially against teams that sit deep. I think if you ask any Crystal Palace fan, they will tell you just how good this guy is. With his experience both in Germany and England, he's used to playing against intense pressing. So even in tight situations, he's so calm. Everyone on this Japan team is super calm. It's gotta be a cultural thing. Now, Japan's attack is where things really get spicy. Mitoma is Japan's biggest threat going forward. This guy is incredibly quick and one of the best dribblers in the world. When he gets the ball out wide, he takes on his fullback and is able to create something out of nothing. If you have watched any Brighton games in the Premier League, you would see how silky this man is. I remember watching him absolutely cook Trent whenever Brighton played Liverpool.
But he took a university degree and he did his thesis on dribbling in football. I mean, and he had a GoPro on his chest as well that he filmed when he was going at players to work out their weaknesses, and that's quite some preparation, isn't it? Because
he's so good at being able to beat the fullback in front of him, he's able to stretch defenses and create space for the other players in the squad. Then we have Japanese Messi, Kubo. I call him that because his dribbling is very Messi-esque. Low center of gravity, magical left foot, and he's an excellent creator. He likes to drift inside from the wing and just get involved in the play. His dribbling is fantastic, but what really stands out is his vision. He can pick out the passes that just break open the defensive line. When Japan is under pressure, he's the one they look to get them out of that situation, which is why, once again, I call him the Japanese Messi. Doan has a reputation for showing up in the big moments. As I showed you guys back in 2022, he made a huge impact off the bench. Now he's a regular starter and an important member of the attack. He brings speed, directness, and an eye for goal. Japan also has a new crop of younger players coming through. In goal, Japan have Suzuki. He's only 23, but he's playing pretty regular football in Italy. He did get some criticism earlier in his international career, especially during the Asian Cup, but he's improved tremendously since then. His shot stopping is better, and he's much more comfortable with the ball at his feet, even under pressure, and that's become a minimum requirement for the modern goalkeeper. Then there's Nakamura, who at club level plays for Reims. He's become a real goal threat from the wing. He's already scored 10 goals in 22 games for Japan. What makes this guy dangerous is his movement. He finds space really well and works perfectly alongside creative players like Kubo and Kamada. Then you have Fujita, who's a midfielder at St. Pauli. He brings a lot of energy to the middle of the park. He's been very impressive in Germany. You know, a prototypical modern day midfielder. Someone who can create chances, but is also willing to do the defensive work. Because of that, he can either start alongside Endo or come in as a rotational option. Then you have Yuito Suzuki, who plays for Freiburg. This guy is very versatile. He can play in multiple different attacking roles. In Japan's system, he's often played just behind the striker. Another player who's great at finding space between the lines, which makes him very difficult to track as a defender. That gives Japan another tool in their locker in order to break teams down. Under Hajime Moriyasu, Japan have become a really flexible team. Depending on the opposition, they can either press high and play aggressively or slow things down and keep the ball. The ability to switch styles is a big reason why they've been so effective. Japan still uses a 4-2-3-1, but more and more from what I've researched, they've also been playing with a back three, usually a 3-4-2-1, sometimes a 3-4-3. This setup gives them more stability at the back while allowing their wingbacks to have the freedom to push further forward. Players like Mitoma and Sugawara play a huge role here. They provide the width and are constantly running up and down the pitch. When Japan don't have the ball, they drop into a very compact shape. It often looks like a back five, making it really hard for teams to play through them. They focus on closing the space in the middle of the park and forcing opponents out wide. Once teams are pushed to the wings, Japan try and trap them near the touchline and win the ball back. When they win the ball though, they don't waste any time. They're not like Arsenal. Japan are at their best when they attack quickly, when they transition from defense to attack in seconds, catching the opposition off guard. Players like Maeda and Furuhashi are key because of their work rate and movement. They press hard, win the ball high up the pitch, and create opportunities just from their defensive work. I mean, a lot of Japan's goals come from these quick transitions rather than long, slow build-up play. One issue that Japan still has though is struggling against teams that defend deep and in a low block. When they're forced to control the game and break down a compact defense, things can slow down. Their attack can become a bit predictable, and they have to rely on moments of brilliance from players like Kubo or Mitoma to unlock things. Moriyasu has tried to fix this by encouraging the team to play more directly with quicker forward passes instead of just keeping the ball for the sake of possession. Japan also press very well. They usually trigger their press when the opponent plays a backward pass or takes a heavy touch in midfield. That's when these guys jump in to win the ball. Again, Maeda is huge here. His energy and work rate forces the opposition into making mistakes, and then Japan turns those mistakes into good opportunities. Japan's style is really built on discipline, speed, and adaptability. They defend as a unit, they attack quickly, and they're incredibly intense with their press. It's a modern style that makes them super dangerous even against the top team. If they can improve their finishing ability and actually consistently turn chances into goals, they will be a difficult team to play against at the World Cup. When Japan are actually clinical, they are so hard to beat. Since the 2022 World Cup, they've been top sides like Germany, Brazil, Scotland, and even England away at Wembley. Their win against Brazil, though a friendly, was still crazy. Japan went down 2-0, but then came back in the second half to win 3-2, showing just how calm and confident they've become even under pressure. No team had ever trailed by 2 goals versus Brazil at halftime and still won the game. Then beating England 1-0 at Wembley, even without their key players like Kubo, proved just how deep and resilient this team is.
Japan had several absences, players that they might count on for the World Cup. Despite that though, what did you see in this Japanese team?
I saw a team that didn't care whether it was England they were playing. It could have been Argentina. I would have loved to see that game. I mean, they played England off the park, and our very own Jeff Shreves, I was with him watching that game. He looked at me and he was like, oh my gosh, England are second fiddle, second best. There's this fearlessness about this Japanese side. And
now, of course, these wins were great, but the Japanese know that the actual tournament is going to be way harder. They've been placed in Group F for the World Cup, and it's a pretty interesting group. They'll face the Netherlands, Tunisia, and Sweden. On paper, the Netherlands will probably be one of their biggest tests. They're a team that likes to control the game and keep possession, so Japan will likely have to sit deeper and look to hit them on the counter. But this is something that they've done really well in recent years, so don't be surprised if Japan pulls an upset and beats the Dutch. Now, Tunisia can be a very tricky game too, just in a completely different way. They're expected to sit back and try to stop Japan from playing their usual style. This can make the match slow and frustrating, and that's where Japan have struggled before. Sweden are also a good team. I mean, dealing with Joker as that fridge for 90 minutes is not an easy task. With the new 48-team format, the tournament is going to be longer and harder. Pause.
No, hold on a minute.
There's now an extra knockout round, so the path is going to be even harder than before. That said though, Japan looked more than ready for the challenge. Their recent record against European teams has been strong, and they've shown that they can compete with anybody. If they play at their level, they have a real chance to make a serious run. What we are seeing right now from Japan, and what we will see, is the result of years of work in the making. The Japan Football Association has focused on building players who are comfortable on the ball, smart tactically, and able to compete. Basically the complete opposite of Alejandro Garnacho. Now you're seeing the results of that. The squad has a great mix of young talents and experienced leaders. They've shown how strong they are during qualifying. Under Hajime Moriyasu, Japan have become a much more practical team. They defend well, they're always organized, and they attack quickly when the opportunity is there. A lot of people think this is the best squad that Japan has ever had. There's real excitement about the talent, the depth, how well they've been playing.
Nico, I know a lot of people think I'm crazy, and I love that you teed it up. I think they can top the group over the Netherlands.
At the same time though, fans know that Japan have had some surprising losses in the past, especially right after big wins. So there's still that little bit of doubt. One thing that keeps coming up though is the round of 16 problem.
The round of 16 has been a finish line oftentimes for Japan. Can they finally get over this curse of the round of 16?
Japan has reached that stage 4 times in 2002, 2010, 2018, and 2022, but they've never gone beyond it. That's something that fans really want to see change in 2026. There's also a bit of a split when it comes to the manager, Hajime Moriyasu. From what I've researched, some fans fully support him because of the results he's delivered, especially against top teams. Others feel like the team could play more attacking football and would prefer a different style. Outside of Japan, a lot of people see them as the dark horse. Every single year they talk about Turkey as the dark horse, but Japan has all the qualities needed for a team that can go very far in the tournament. There's talks that they could go on a similar run to what we saw Morocco do in 2022. For them to succeed at the World Cup, a few things matter a lot. First, key defenders like Tomiyasu and Hiroki Ito need to stay fit. Second, they have to find better ways to break down those teams that sit deep and defend. You know, the Atletico Madrid special. And finally, they need to continue to be mentally strong. That's the only way that they can reach the knockout rounds.
What would you say are the biggest strengths of this Japanese side?
It's what the identity of Japanese football as a whole. It's tactical intelligence. It's the high pressing, the quick transitional play. They're just such a disciplined team. I feel like that adjective gets thrown around with Japan time and time again in terms of what they do.
If everything comes together, this could be a historic moment, not just for Japan, but for Asian football as a whole. Now, one thing they have to deal with is the new rules at the World Cup. To see the strange things that Gianni Infantino has implemented, you have to watch this video right here.